Around 9 o'clock, when the hour hand pointed to 9, I heard that sound again. The faint sound of the upstairs bathroom door closing. I looked up from the papers in front of me and gazed at the ceiling. The wooden floors in this house, built in the 1980s, creaked slightly whenever someone walked across them. Those sounds let me track my daughter's movements. Emma's small footsteps heading toward the bathroom. "Emma." As I called out while climbing the stairs, my 10-year-old daughter gave her usual response. The same conversation that had been repeating at this time recently. "Yes, Mom. I'll be out soon." There was something in her voice, a kind of urgency, a hint of hurry. I stood in the hallway, staring at the closed door. Early September nights in Minnesota were already beginning to feel chilly. I could feel the cool breeze coming through the bathroom window. The light from the bathroom, located next to the master bedroom, cast a thin strip of light into the hallway. Lately, I'd been concerned about Emma's habit. Every night around 9, she'd go into the bathroom and stay there for a long time. She wasn't showering or brushing her teeth. There was hardly any sound of running water. Only signs that she was doing something leaked into the hallway. The sound of drawers opening, something being set down, and occasionally, a stifled sigh. "Emma, are you really okay?" I approached the door again and called out. After a slight pause, she answered my worried mother's voice. "I'm fine, Mom. Just a little longer." The words were the same as always. But there was something in her voice that suggested she was hiding something. A mother's intuition told me something wasn't right. Whatever was happening behind that door was more than just nighttime preparations. I returned to the living room downstairs and looked out the window. It was almost time for my husband Thomas to come home. He worked as a middle manager at Coldwell Banker, a real estate development company, commuting on Interstate 35W. Recently, he'd been coming home later, perhaps due to work stress. And when he did come home, there was a slight smell of alcohol. He'd be irritable, not wanting to talk to anyone. I checked my phone screen. 9:15. It had been 20 minutes since Emma went into the bathroom. The cleanup from dinner bought at Whole Foods was finished, and normally we'd be watching TV together as a family. But lately, at this time, Emma would always disappear into the bathroom. What reason would a normal 10-year-old girl have to spend so much time in there? No sound of a shower, no sound of running water at the sink. Just occasional small noises of something being moved around. I hadn't paid much attention to it before. I thought it was just a small change in my growing daughter. She was in 4th grade at Pleasant View Elementary School, an age when physical changes begin. But over the past week, the sense that something was wrong had grown stronger. I felt like Emma's behavior was gradually changing. When she comes home from school, she goes straight to her room. She used to happily tell me about what happened at school. During dinner, she doesn't talk as much as before. And without fail, at 9 o'clock, she heads to the bathroom. Around the time Thomas is due home. As if she's trying to escape from something, or hide something. The street lights outside cast their cold autumn light. Emma, having finished her homework, would normally be reading Harry Potter at this time. An open book lay on her desk. But now, something I didn't know about was happening behind that closed door. I climbed the stairs again and stood in front of the bathroom door. From inside came sounds like something being wrapped, like fabric being handled. Perhaps folding towels. My reflection in the foggy mirror looked anxious. Emma, it's bedtime. 5 more minutes. A hurried voice replies. That voice lacks its usual brightness. There's a sense of urgency in it, as if being chased by something. Like she's racing against time. I reached out and touched the doorknob. But I couldn't turn it. It was locked from the inside. As a mother, it wouldn't be appropriate to try opening the door while Emma was bathing. But this wasn't bathing. There was no sound of water, no sign of a shower. Just the faint sound of someone desperately doing something. The shadows of street trees created moving patterns on the hallway walls. The scent of coffee bought from Caribou Coffee that afternoon still lingered in the house. Everything looked like a normal weeknight. But in this quietness, I couldn't shake the feeling that something serious was lurking. A mother's sixth sense sending out warnings. Car headlights illuminated the window. It was about time for Thomas to come home. Emma quickly opened the door and came out into the hallway in her pajamas. Her hair was still dry. She hurried toward her room with her head down. She looked like she was running from something. "Good night, Mom." Her voice was small and seemed to tremble. The sound of her door closing seemed to announce that once again, something was being hidden tonight. The darkness of night enveloping that secret. I entered the bathroom. There was little sign it had been used. The towels were still folded. The bathtub was dry. Only the first aid kit under the sink seemed slightly out of place. On the floor, a single piece of used cotton wool had been left behind, as if overlooked. The next morning, Emma insisted on wearing a long-sleeved hoodie to school. Even though it was still hot despite being September. "Aren't you hot?" When I asked, Emma shook her head. "I'm cold." "This is fine." There was something defensive in her gesture. Arms crossed in front of her chest, body curled in on itself. The thought grew stronger in my mind that last night's long time in the bathroom had something to do with this morning's behavior. At breakfast, Emma barely ate, tearing her toast into tiny pieces. She didn't touch the scrambled eggs she usually likes. Instead, she kept fidgeting with the ends of her long sleeves. "Is school fun?" "Yes." After the short reply, silence followed again. I couldn't get the detailed stories I used to hear anymore. Events with friends, discoveries in class, everything was locked away in short words. As I watched Emma's retreating figure after sending her off, I remembered the piece of cotton wool I'd found last night. Why did she need the first aid kit? Why did she need to stay in the bathroom? And why did it coincide with her father's return time? In the afternoon, when I returned early from my part-time job, Thomas's jacket was thrown over the living room furniture. This was a time when he should normally be at work. "Are you feeling unwell?" My husband, coming down from upstairs, gave off the smell of alcohol in the middle of the day. The guys at work can't do anything right. They didn't follow my instructions, so everything has to be redone. Thomas snapped while looking at his phone, clearly irritated. His bad moods had been getting worse lately. He said work at Coldwell Banker had gotten busier. But was this just work stress? "Aren't you worried about Emma?" I carefully asked. What about her? She seems normal. Thomas answered dismissively, reaching for the whiskey bottle. At 3 in the afternoon. In the evening, Emma didn't come home at her usual time after school. When I called, worried, she said she was doing homework at the library. She used to always let me know about such things before. When Emma did come home, she rushed to the bathroom again. Earlier than usual. Perhaps because she knew Thomas was home. From behind the closed door came the same sounds as last night. The sound of opening the first aid kit. The sound of wrapping bandages. And occasionally, small sighs escaping. I made up my mind. I couldn't keep living in fear with just my imagination. I needed to know the truth. I ordered a small camera online, and it arrived by express delivery the next morning. During the brief time when Emma was at school and Thomas was at work, my hands were shaking. I installed the small camera next to the bathroom exhaust fan, carefully adjusting the angle so no one would notice. My heart was torn with conflict about whether this was the right choice, whether I was violating my daughter's privacy. But I couldn't sleep like this anymore. That evening, as soon as Emma came home from school, she changed into long sleeves again. The September weather was still hot, even with the air conditioning turned down. There was a desperation in her movements to hide something. Pulling at her sleeves, checking her collar, withdrawing her body to avoid being touched. During dinner, I noticed Emma's hands trembling under the table. It happened right after Thomas sent a message about his arrival time. My stomach hurts. Saying that, Emma left the table and disappeared into the upstairs bathroom again. 9 o'clock again tonight. The same time again tonight. But tonight, I would know the truth. The small camera was recording everything. Downstairs, I stared at my smartphone screen. The reason for Emma's changes would soon be revealed there. My finger trembled slightly as it touched the play button, mixed feelings of fear and determination. The images that appeared on my smartphone screen made my worst fears real. As the clock struck 9, like a heartbeat, my daughter's figure appeared on screen. Under the bathroom's fluorescent light, Emma. She slowly took off her hoodie and rolled up her long-sleeved shirt. Her movements contained slight trembles of enduring pain. In the mirror, her arms showed multiple bruises. Blue discolored marks, brown old scars. From elbow to shoulder, the scars formed irregular patterns. New injuries layered over old scars, and new injuries over those. Layered like marking the passage of time. I almost stopped breathing. No sound would come from my throat. But this was just the beginning. Emma carefully unbuttoned her shirt. There was a terrifying familiarity to her movements. Like a ritual performed every night, mechanical and precise movements. With each button undone, new scars were revealed. When the shirt fell, the full extent of the scars on her back was revealed. Red stripes like belt marks. Blue-black bruises like grab marks. Near her shoulder blades, marks that looked like she had been forcefully held down. My hands shook, nearly dropping the smartphone. The screen shook, losing focus for a moment. Though I wanted to look away, I couldn't turn my eyes from the reality my daughter had been enduring alone. This video showed the reality Emma had been carrying alone every night. Emma's small hands reached for the first aid kit under the sink. With practiced movements, she took out antiseptic and cotton wool, applying them to new injuries. While grimacing in pain, she bit her lips desperately to avoid making a sound. Biting so hard it left teeth marks. Her movements in wrapping bandages were also practiced. Not too tight, but secure enough to keep the wounds from shifting. So this was the ritual at 9 every night. A time to treat wounds alone, without being noticed by anyone, without being able to ask anyone for help. Every time the antiseptic stung her wounds, Emma's shoulders would shake slightly. But she made no sound. As if she had learned over a long time how to endure pain. The expression reflected in the mirror bore something too heavy for a 10-year-old child to carry. Days spent unable to ask anyone for help, only able to keep hiding the injuries. Time spent silently enduring, frightened by threats that the family would fall apart. As the bathroom exhaust fan continued to spin quietly, Emma continued her treatment silently. Occasionally startling at the sound of my footsteps in the hallway. Perhaps even at this moment, I had been walking the hallway pretending not to notice. In the video, after finishing wrapping new bandages, Emma carefully put her shirt back on. Hiding arm injuries with long sleeves, covering neck bruises with a high collar, sealing everything away where it couldn't be seen. Each movement like putting on armor. Like preparing for tomorrow's battlefield. And finally, carefully hiding the used cotton wool pieces in the trash can so no one would notice. Covering them with other garbage, leaving no trace. The piece of cotton wool I found last night was a trace of this ritual. It should have been a sign I shouldn't have overlooked. The video continues. Emma makes a final check of her appearance in the mirror. Are all injuries hidden? Are there any wrinkles in her clothes? Are there any traces of crying? Like going through a checklist, mechanical movements. Checking the circles under her eyes, making sure her cheeks look normal, adjusting her hair to hide neck injuries at the right angle. Then, a deep sigh. An exhausted sigh from such a small body, too mature for her age. Emma. I whispered to my daughter in the screen with a trembling voice. Even though she was right there, even at this moment while this video was being recorded, she might be repeating the same thing in the upstairs bathroom, but I hadn't noticed. I couldn't protect her. As a mother, I had failed in my most basic duty. The decision was instant. I put down the smartphone and called the police. My hand shakes as I pick up the receiver. My fingers shake as I dial the numbers. But I can't wait any longer. I need to end this situation as quickly as possible, even by a minute or a second. I'm reporting domestic violence. My 10-year-old daughter. My voice catches. My throat is dry. But this is no time for crying. The police promised to send a specialized team immediately. Until then, I must protect Emma. I go upstairs and knock on the bathroom door. The wooden door trembles slightly under my fist. Emma, open up. I hear movement from inside. Hurried sounds. The sound of hiding bandages, or perhaps destroying evidence. Wait a minute. Her voice has a different kind of urgency than usual, mixed with hurry. Open it now. Please. Perhaps sensing something in my tone, Emma slowly opened the door. Eyes still downcast. Long eyelashes trembling. It's okay now. Just as I was about to embrace her, Thomas's car made the sound of arrival. The usual sound of tires on gravel. But tonight, even that sound seems ominous. The sound of the front door opening. Heavy footsteps. Then my husband's voice. There are police outside. What happened? His voice lacks its usual intimidating tone. Instead, there's a hint of panic, like someone cornered. Emma's body stiffens at the sound of footsteps coming up the stairs. I held my daughter tightly. Never again would I let anyone hurt this child. The sound of police officers entering through the front door. The rustle of uniforms. The quiet static of radios. Then Thomas's voice is heard. What's all this about? The smell of alcohol comes up the stairs. We received a report from your wife. At the police officer's calm voice, the blood drains from Thomas's face. His expression, illuminated by the hallway light, showed resignation that he could no longer hide everything. In my arms holding my daughter, Emma's small body trembles. Can you explain about the injuries on Emma's body? The quiet voice of the female officer from the specialized team reaches the bathroom. Thomas's face turns pale. All truth was etched in that expression. No more excuses, no more denials, a moment when nothing else matters. Still holding my daughter, I firmly vowed in my heart to take the first step toward a new life that was about to begin. Never again would I let anyone hurt this child. This resolve was the only truth we needed right now. The time of healing wounds alone in the midnight bathroom was over. The sound of handcuffs announced the end of a long nightmare. The cold metal sound cuts through the silence of the autumn night. Thomas Brown, you are under arrest on suspicion of child abuse. As the officer's voice echoed in the entryway, I held Emma tightly. My daughter's small body was still trembling slightly. But I could feel those trembles gradually subsiding. From this moment, everything would change. Why didn't you tell me? While holding Emma, I quietly asked. The sound of police sirens fading into the distance. The patrol car carrying my husband slowly disappearing into the darkness of the residential area. What remained was deep silence and the sense of a new beginning. Dad said. Emma continued in a small voice, face buried in my chest. That the family would fall apart. That Mom would be sad. That everyone would become unhappy because of me. He told me that every day. The tears won't stop. Even though she was so close, I couldn't notice my daughter's suffering. The time she spent alone healing wounds in the bathroom every night. Days spent enduring without being able to ask anyone for help. Too heavy a secret to bear on the shoulders of a fourth-grade elementary school student. The Child Protective Services representative spoke to us gently, along with a female counselor who rushed over despite the late hour. That gentle voice gradually thawed the frozen atmosphere. When did your father's behavior start to change? Emma thought for a moment in my arms, her small fingers still clutching my sweater tightly. There was a big failure at Dad's company. After that, he started drinking more. At first, he just yelled. But gradually, her words trail off. I gently stroked my daughter's hair. Dad cried, saying he couldn't control his anger. Emma continued. But the next day, Those words revealed the habitual nature of the violence. Work stress and alcohol. These triggered him to raise his hand against his beloved daughter. Then regret and apologies, but the same thing would repeat. This negative cycle had been continuing within our family. The investigation results became clear. Thomas would hit his daughter in drunken rage, then regret it the next morning. But he would repeat the same thing again. Unable to control his emotions, he continued to hurt the one he should have protected most. The chain of alcohol dependence and violence had eaten away at his heart too. Didn't the teachers at school notice? When I worried about PE classes at Pleasant View Elementary, Emma shook her head. That gesture showed the sad wisdom of a child who had kept secrets for a long time. I changed clothes last, after everyone was gone. For swimming classes, I said my stomach hurt and stayed home. It pained my heart that a 10-year-old girl had to live so cautiously. Having to think about hiding injuries constantly, whether at school, at friends' houses, or anywhere else. The police took evidence photos and created medical records. All of Emma's injuries were documented. Each time the doctor's expression grew stern, my regret deepened. Bruises on her arms, wounds on her back, shoulder contusions. Each one told the story of what my daughter had endured. "Ma'am, this isn't anyone's fault," the Child Protective Services representative said, seeing my expression. "What matters is that you noticed and took action. This is just the beginning. Your new life with Emma starts now." Those words helped release some of the tension from my shoulders. As the deep night gave way to dawn, we were heading to a temporary shelter. In the old car, the warm air from the heater envelopes us. A new life begins. "Mom," Emma whispered softly in the car. The street lights gently illuminated her profile. "What is it?" "I don't have to hide in the bathroom anymore." I nodded firmly at that question, pushing back the lump in my throat. "You're safe now. You don't need to hide anymore. From now on, no matter what happens, Mom will be with you. I promise." Relief appeared in Emma's eyes for the first time in a long while. Still small and fragile hope. But definitely a light that was there. I could feel her long-closed heart slowly beginning to open. When we arrived at the shelter, a specialist counselor was waiting for us. Staff members welcomed us with warm smiles. We would start our new life here until Thomas's trial began. Time for Emma's emotional wounds to heal, for me to recover as a mother. And most importantly, days to rebuild our mutual trust. Tomorrow, a new morning begins, doesn't it? Emma whispered toward the dawn sky visible from the facility's window. There was no more fear in that voice. Instead, what was there was small but certain hope. As I gently stroked my daughter's hair, I contemplated the path ahead of us. It would still take a long time for the wounds to completely heal. But she no longer needed to endure alone. Together, we would walk forward one step at a time. A new story of mother and daughter begins here. "Mom, thank you." I couldn't answer Emma's words. I could only hold her tightly. Warm tears rolled down my cheeks. This is our new beginning. Never again would I let my daughter be hurt. With that vow, the sun rose. 6 months have passed since then. "Mom, look." I can see Emma playing with new friends in the Pleasant View Elementary schoolyard. The frightened expression from before is gone. The scars visible on her arms from her rolled-up short sleeves are gradually fading. We started living in a new apartment. Thomas's trial concluded 3 months ago, resulting in a 4-year prison sentence. During the trial, he acknowledged his crimes while crying, promising to participate in an alcohol dependency treatment program. At first, Emma would cower just hearing her father's name. But as she continued twice-weekly counseling sessions, she gradually became able to put her feelings into words. It wasn't Dad's fault. He was sick, wasn't he? It took a lot of time before she could say that. I too continued to face my own guilt as a mother. Why couldn't I notice earlier? But the counselor's words supported me. Moving forward is the best choice you both can make right now. I found a new job too. Though the salary is less than before, they allow me to work hours that match Emma's school schedule. Every day, we cook dinner together and talk about what happened that day. I've learned deeply how precious these ordinary moments are. Thomas sends letters monthly, written as part of his rehabilitation program. He writes about his struggle with alcohol addiction, regret for his actions, and apologies to us. Emma isn't ready to read those letters yet, but perhaps someday she'll be able to forgive her father. That's a path she must choose for herself. We'll quietly wait for that time. Hey, Mom. Emma holds my hand on our way home from school today too. Will you come to the class observation day next week? That casual question brings tears to my eyes. My daughter, who once feared observation days. Now she wants to show me her proud presentation. Of course I will. I squeeze her hand back firmly. Our new life has only just begun. But we're moving forward, one step at a time, steadily. The bathroom door will never be closed in fear again.